There's a ton of noise out there. So how do you get decision makers to pay attention to your brand? Start a podcast and invite your ideal clients to be guests on your show. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by James Huddleston. He's the VP of Marketing at Certain. James, how's it going today, man?
Good. How are you doing, Logan?
I am doing fantastic. It's a Friday afternoon, 60 degrees in the fall in Colorado, at least when we're recording this. I don't know what it'll be like once this episode drops, but right now I'm doing fantastic, man. So we're going to be talking about your event strategy and things that you can do to have a more effective strategy, from sales and marketing alignment to looking at your event and ABM strategies through the same lens. Before we jump straight into that, though, James, I would love for you to give listeners a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the team at Certain are up to these days.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. So as you mentioned, I'm VP of Marketing here at Certain. Have been at Certain for about 3 years, was previously the head of product marketing, so have just moved into the head of marketing role. Prior to working at Certain, I was working at a company called Service Source for a number of years in both sales, marketing, and sort of account management or CSM roles. So excited to be on the podcast, excited to share some of our best practices and what we're doing. For those who don't know, so Certain helps marketers and event planners drive greater results from their in-person events. We provide an enterprise event automation platform that enables businesses to create really highly tailored, personalized experiences for their event attendees.
I love it, man. And one of the things that you guys have been working on that really is going to kind of be the fodder for some of these lessons learned and best practices we're going to talk about today when it comes to your event strategy comes from what you guys call your event automation maturity model. Tell us a little bit, one, unpack that term for us, and two, tell us a little bit about the way you guys look at events and kind of how that shapes some of these learnings that we're going to be talking about that folks can use very tactically in their marketing event strategy.
Yeah, so the event automation maturity model that you're referring to, we at Certain, we're focused often on selling to very large enterprises and supporting their end-to-end global events. So one of the things we've done is we're also, as I've taken over this role, refreshing our account-based marketing strategy. And in doing so, we have, as many companies do, if you're familiar, have a tiered model where we have tier one, which is kind of our most strategic, where we're investing the most sales and marketing investment in dollars and pursuing those opportunities from a new business perspective, and that's anywhere from like 15 to 20 accounts per sales rep. Then we have a tier two, which is another couple of hundred, and then a tier three, which is a couple of thousand, and that's this is the market we're going after. I think what might be a bit unique is that we actually include our customers in both tier one and tier two, depending on their size and scope and how they're leveraging our solution today. So the concept of the event automation maturity model was really born out of how do not only we look at the customer from an upsell, cross-sell transactional perspective, because a lot of these are large enterprises who have additional business lines or their additional events that we may not be fully supporting yet. But really, how do we bring added value to our relationship? Because as long as you're bringing added value seen as a partner and not a vendor, the upsell and cross-sell will ultimately, I believe, take care of itself. So to kind of get tactical about what I mean by event automation maturity model, What we've really built out is a framework by which we can, our CSMs, our solution engineers, marketing, sales, can partner with our customers to really assess their events business holistically, and not just from our our sort of myopic technology point of view, but across people, process, technology, data, and really looking at what they're trying to achieve from their events program entirely. And then we grade them across those kind of 4 pillars, and then assess or provide a set of recommendations for how they can move from, we grade 1 to 5. So how you can move from a 1 or a 2 in, let's say, the event data strategy that you're employing to something a little more strategic, so a 4 or 5. And so we found a lot of interest and support in that initiative. And it kind of flows into ABM, but is also all about customer marketing and adding value as well.
Yeah, I love the way you broke that down. I'm not sure if you guys think of it as, pillars to the event strategy or not, but, you talked about people, process, tech, and data when it comes to your event strategy. I hadn't planned on this, but just wanted to take a quick segue and see, as you guys have been evaluating the event strategy for different customers and different prospects, is there one that tends to, they've got the tech in order, or they've got the people in order, or they're focusing on process but not the others? Is there any common themes that you see or potential pitfalls as marketers listening to this can kind of think, man, I think we kind of fall into that trap as well?
Yeah, I think some of this I'm maybe jumping ahead a little bit. Well, one of the pitfalls we often see is just a misalignment between sales and marketing leading into events. And even if you drill even further, a misalignment between the event planner and the event marketer or marketing operations. So the event planner, as they should be, very, very focused on a lot of the logistics going into the event. The types of attendees or they're trying to hit potentially attendee targets. But they often, where we've seen misses within some of our customers is that they may not be aligned as well with the event marketer and marketing ops, who are focused a little bit more on, okay, how do we create engagement, personalize that experience for our event attendee so that they can ultimately create highly personalized, relevant sales and marketing activities, not just after the event, but actually during the event as well. And so that can be leading into events. I'd say that's one of the key sort of misses or areas or gaps we tend to see.
Hey everybody, Logan with Sweetfish here. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know we're big proponents of putting out original, organic content on LinkedIn. But one thing that's always been a struggle for a team like ours is to easily track the reach of that LinkedIn content. That's why I was really excited when I heard about Shield the other day from a connection on, you guessed it, LinkedIn. Since our team started using Shield, I've loved how it's let us easily track and analyze the performance of our LinkedIn content without having to manually log it ourselves. It automatically creates reports and generates some dashboards that are incredibly useful to see things like what content's been performing the best and what days of the week are we getting the most engagement and our average views per post. I'd highly suggest you guys check out this tool if you're putting out content on LinkedIn. And if you're not, you should be. It's been a game changer for us. If you go to shieldapp.ai and check out the 10-day free trial, you can even use our promo code B2B Growth to get a 25% discount. Again, that's shieldapp.ai, and that promo code is B2B Growth. All one word. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, James. So what are some of your recommendations for that event marketing and sales alignment? Let's talk about pre-event. You talked about at the event. I think we circle back to that in a second, but let's talk about leading up to event, some best practices or some common solutions to just that communications gap or, goal alignment gaps, whatever you guys might be seeing typically between those 3 functions.
Yeah, great question. So one of the things, I'll kind of circle back to something really tangible that we do. So as we go into events, whether they're events we are sponsoring or events we're hosting, even smaller field events, we have what we call a revenue war room meeting. We set up literally a war room whereby all of the key marketing stakeholders, so that my planner, my field marketer, marketing ops, demand gen is included in that meeting. And then on the sales side, we've got all the salespeople and business development, SDRs, whatever you call that part of sales, all included in that meeting. And one of the things that I like to have a little fun with it, we have basically, because our end goal is how many target accounts, how many target contacts, potentially customers or prospects can we get meetings with going into this event? Because that's where you're going to be successful, is actually pre-setting a lot of those meetings. And so what we try to do is we have what's called a most wanted list. So we look at all of our tier ones and tier twos, and then look at, okay, who do we believe is going to be attending the event? Either you have the list, even if you don't have a list, you can look at local prospects, and we create most wanted posters for every single. We go on their LinkedIn profile, we copy their picture, we create, it's super easy, but we create most wanted posters. And as the SDRs or the AEs, and we go through this, by the way, in that war room meeting. And as the SDRs and AEs pre-schedule meetings with one of those most wanted, they get to, cross that most wanted. They get that bounty, if you will. Sometimes we actually put some, skin in the game. We put some incentives on the table, like spiffs for setting those meetings. But that's just one way you can get together with your sales counterparts, with the rest of the marketing organization, and have a little fun with it, put a little skin in the game. And it's amazing what that can do we've just in terms of results, our last two trade shows we've sponsored, we have literally had, I think we had a very small booth, but had 50 meetings within a very finite period. So it just blew away what we'd done before. And then in the spring, we also had probably about 300 times the number of meetings than we had the year prior. So just really seeing a lot of success just employing that fairly simple strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's two parts to that. There's the strategy of, what it looks like, the execution, how you have some fun with it, how you make it a big deal internally with the way you guys do with most wanted posters. There's a number of ways you could do that within your own organization. And then the other is just this shift as opposed to how many cards, how many badge scans can we have at our booth to feed the SDR team to try and set meetings post-event. It's a heck of a lot easier to try and set meetings at the event because people are investing their dollars, their personal time and company budget to be there. And then when they get back, they're being flooded by all the post-event stuff. They're playing catch up. And so it's the worst time to actually set meetings. So I love this shift that you're talking about, man.
That's a great point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So, James, let's talk a little bit about creating personalized events. You mentioned kind of consulting with a lot of your customers about the experience that they're creating at the event. So it could be, some of the things that you're doing with these meetings that the SDRs are setting up, or I've talked to other folks that, have had a lot of success with their events by creating these small get-togethers. We've done what we call B2B growth dinners, where we find 8 to 10 people that we know we want to connect with. Sometimes it's as informal as, getting the group on text and setting up that dinner. But tell us a little bit about, some of the things that you guys have been seeing or some of your customers that have been very effective at creating personalized experiences at their events.
Yeah. I think one of our customers is a great example of doing this. And you made a great point around using or being targeted in the types of events you're throwing to get the right sort of audience there. So one of our customers did the same thing on a very, very large scale across the globe. They basically said, here's what we're investing. A lot of investment is going into these events. Let's figure out how we can get really strategic, really targeted about the types of events we're throwing. So we're not going to change our budget, but we may change, instead of doing as many user conferences, we may, to your point, do smaller field marketing type of events to get in front of and get even closer to in almost one-on-one conversations with the type of people we want to be in front of. And some examples like tangibly how they're creating a personalized experience for those individuals. So as those individuals are registering for these events, they are offering already from the registration form a pretty personalized experience in that, if I'm a VP and I'm registering for the event, based on my title, they've got logic built in the form that notes if anything from a VP and greater, the form should automatically ask me if I want to be included in a VIP happy hour. So that's one way they're doing that pre-event. So they're really kind of just out of the gates creating that personal experience. Then within the event, as again, kind of carrying this analogy through, if I'm a VP and I check into their event, they're leveraging our check-in technology that allows for that would actually then kick off a text message to their head of sales, to their marketing, or the salesperson responsible for my account specifically, so that individual can come greet me personally, welcome me to the event, tell me about any additional VIP or sessions that I should be aware of. And then, even within the event, as I go to various different sessions, they're collecting that information so that they know, okay, James was interested in account-based marketing. He went to a lot of account-based marketing sessions. They can immediately, almost in real time, follow up with content. So to your point earlier, sometimes when you get post-event, there's just too much noise. They're catching back up. They've had a weekend. In this case, they can actually send me content that is relevant to account-based marketing while I'm still there, while I'm still on site. And then I would say, finally, one of the things that they like to talk about is leads before happy hour, which is just, they kind of have some fun with how they want to make sure as I check into these sessions that activity is being integrated well with their marketing automation, with their CRM, and their sales team sees what I'm doing at any point in time. And I become a lead, before I even go to that VIP event or that cocktail hour. It's instantaneous, so they can follow up with me as quickly as they'd like.
I love that. Leads before happy hour. We've got most wanted event attendees. We've got leads before happy hour. You guys are just doing some really fun things between the things that you're helping your customers execute, think about, as well as just your own event strategy. James, I think you've shared a ton of value with listeners today. I think the biggest thing from my takeaway is just, what would happen if you shift your mindset to meeting set at an event versus post-event. I think that is a fundamental shift that a lot of marketing teams could go through to test that effectiveness. And you guys, as you shared, have seen some tremendous results with it. So I really appreciate everything you shared with listeners today, James. If anybody listening to this wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more on their event strategy, maybe have you guys look at where are they on that scale of what you guys define as the event automation maturity model, what's the best way for them to learn more or stay connected with you?
Yeah, so I encourage you to visit our website, certain.com. You can connect with me personally on LinkedIn. So again, James Huddleston. You can even email me if you wish, jhuddleston@certain.com. We also host a podcast as well, Masters of Events, which you can also would encourage you guys to subscribe to and listen to as well, because we share some other very specific best practices.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, James, this has been a great conversation, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Logan. Thanks for having me.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.